The entire internet can be broken down into three parts: the surface web, the deep web, and the dark web. The surface web is the visible and easily accessible part of the internet used by the majority of its users. If you think of the internet as an iceberg, the surface web represents the portion above the water. Despite its visibility, it makes up less than 5% of the entire internet. The deep web rests below the surface and accounts for approximately 90% of the internet. Its size, 400 times larger than the surface web. This is the part of the internet that isn't indexed by search engines. It's quite likely you've already used the deep web without even realizing it. Basically, if you can't find it on Google, it's technically on the deep web. This includes your online banking details, personal email or social media platforms, and health records kept in a hospital's cloud. Although it's not part of the internet, there isn't really much happening in the deep web. It's impossible to discover exactly how many pages or websites are active at any one time in the deep web, so even if you went online every single day and searched through new websites for the next 5 years, you wouldn't even put a dent in the pure amount of information there is on the deep web. It's just too much to go through, most of which you couldn't even get access to. But even further and deeper than the deep web, in the tiniest sliver of the internet, lies the part of the web where things happen in the dark. Users access websites using encrypted software to completely mask their identities and hide their existence by omitting IP addresses, which makes them almost untraceable. Here, anything and everything goes. We've reached the dark web. But how does it even work? Breaking down the construction of the dark web reveals a few key layers that make it an anonymous safe haven. It's immune to indexing by standard search engines, meaning giants like Google can't find or display content from the dark web. Due to its distinct domain registrations and additional security measures like firewalls and encryption, traditional browsers can't actually access it. The reputation of the dark web has often been linked to criminal activities or illegal content that involves children and trading sites where users can purchase illicit goods or services. It's said that you can find anything from an AK-47 to a rocket launcher on the dark web. If you look hard enough, criminals have also been discovered selling fake degrees, certifications, and passports. People have also hired hackers to break into university systems, just to change their grades. Stolen identities are also up for grabs on the dark web. The going rate for a passport is $3,000, and a forged green card goes for $450, with your full identity costing about $1,200. We know what we're going to find on the dark web, but the question is, how do you even get access to the dark web? Well, that answer lies with the United States government back in the mid-1990s. As the age of the internet progressed through the mid-1990s, a technology called Tor was created. Tor stands for the Onion Router, and is a browser that allows users to exchange information anonymously online. It's basically like Google Chrome, but for the dark web. Unlike any traditional web browser, Tor was engineered with the sole aim of ensuring user anonymity online. Peer-to-peer networks like Tor are the backbone of the dark web. For the dark web to exist, it needs anonymity. Tor manages this by hiding the identity of the user by bouncing the connection through 3 different servers around the world, adding a layer of encryption each time. Think of onion routing as wrapping your data in multiple layers of encryption, with the innermost layer carrying your actual message. Imagine you've got to pass on a message, and for it to reach its destination, it has to bounce through 3 checkpoints, A, B, and C. Your message gets wrapped in 3 layers of encryption. Each layer only knows where the message previously came from and where to send it next, nothing else. So, the message, or whatever data that was originally sent, remains hidden. At every checkpoint, 1 layer is peeled off, revealing instructions for the next stop. By the time it hops through all the checkpoints, the last encryption layer is shed, showing the original message. This technique ensures that information can hop from point A to point B to point C without the risk of it being vulnerable to interception in between. Now, it would be logical to assume that Tor was invented by a group of anti-establishment coders and criminals trying to evade government control due to the nature of the illegal activity on the dark web. This makes sense. However, in a twist of irony, Tor was actually invented by the US Naval Research Laboratory to allow intelligence personnel to transfer information securely. Another agency of the US Department of Defense called DARPA further developed Tor, and in 2002, they made it available to the public. To this day, Tor is still funded mostly by the United States government. Given its potential for covert operations and its foundation in illegal trade, one might wonder why the US government still partially funds Tor, and why it allowed the public to access this software in the first place. Well, the idea was to make it difficult for anyone to decipher which information on the dark web was created by intelligence officials. It also enabled the US intelligence community to communicate discreetly over the internet without disclosing their physical location to the enemy. It's likely still in use for this purpose today. The military made Tor available to the public for two main reasons. If only the military used it, any Tor user could be suspected of being from the US military, defeating its anonymity. True anonymity thrives in a crowd. The crowd is, by nature, anonymous. If you want to shelter the people you like, you have to accept the cost of sheltering everyone. Just as you can't legally inspect everyone's physical mail or tap their phones, the same privacy rules apply online. It's easier to remain anonymous in a sea of anonymous users. Simply put, the more users there are, the better. It's important to note that without Tor, the dark web would still exist. Tor is simply one dark web browser, of which there are many. It's kind of like that if Google Chrome was shut down tomorrow, the internet would still exist. The tools and requirements needed to access the dark web are enough to attract different types of users from all around the world, both good and bad. Links to pages don't look like youtube.com, they don't look familiar whatsoever. Instead, they tend to look like random strings of characters ending in not .com, not in .org, but .onion. And if you attempt to access these websites through any traditional web browser, it's not going to work. But when using Tor, it will. This setup boosts anonymity and means you typically need a direct link to find specific sites. Acting as a guidebook for many newcomers to the dark web, the Hidden Wiki provides links to a variety of services and websites, both legal and illegal. It's a starting point for many curious about the dark web's offerings. While some links might lead users to harmless forums and niche communities, others direct them straight into the world of illegal trade and underground services. For many, their journey into the dark web starts with the Hidden Wiki, which offers a roadmap of sorts, guiding them through the myriad of concealed alleys and byways. The dark web is full of different kinds of products. On one hand, there are items that, while illicit, may seem relatively harmless. Think counterfeit documents, including fake IDs and forged passports. Tools often sought by individuals simply seeking an alternative identity, or maybe a night out. But as one ventures deeper, the offerings take a more sinister turn. Weapons of varying degrees of potency are up for sale, from simple knives to more advanced firearms. The drug trade thrives in these shadowy corners, with substances ranging from recreational marijuana to potent synthetics and dangerous opioids. And then there's the digital contraband. Stolen credit cards, hacked personal data, and confidential information stolen from unsuspecting individuals or even corporations. This is where Bitcoin comes in. Due to Bitcoin's almost anonymous nature, its use alongside other cryptocurrencies is pivotal to running an anonymous marketplace. Create a Bitcoin wallet. In exchange for some of your cash, you now have your anonymous currency and can do almost whatever you want with it. In 2011, a dark web marketplace known as the Silk Road opened its servers for business, and it's since become the poster child for the dark web. Here, you could buy any illegal drug you've ever dreamed of. Sellers from all over the world sold everything from weed to cocaine, and if you wanted to space out, you could get DMT or LSD. And if you weren't looking for a high, they had other items like guns and counterfeit money. But after only 2 years in operation, the site was seized by the FBI and taken down in October of 2013. Over the course of only 2 years from its inception, Silk Road generated over 9.5 million bitcoins in revenue. If you cashed out that bitcoin during its 2021 peak, when each bitcoin was about $65,000, Silk Road's total revenue would amount to over $617 billion. Insane, right? The funny thing is, Silk Road and other dark web markets kinda gave Bitcoin a boost. When Silk Road was created, Bitcoin was valued at less than $1, but because the dark web pretty much requires a decentralized cryptocurrency, it was the perfect choice. To be honest, Bitcoin wouldn't be where it is today without a bit of illegal activity. The creator, Ross Ulbricht, was found and arrested in 2013 in a sting operation, which was ultimately the reason the site was taken down. Dark web scams against people seeking illegal goods and services are part and parcel of the dark web. Ripping off people who can't seek police help poses a unique attraction to cybercriminals who wish to stay out of the spotlight. Rip and runs involve stealing from someone and disappearing without holding up your end of the bargain. On the dark web, this takes on many forms. Someone might try to hire a hacker or hitman or buy malware, but when they pay, they're met with echoing silence. In one case, people kept falling for an elaborate scam to hire a hitman. A website called Besa Mafia claimed to offer the toughest Albanian hitman services. But in reality, it was two Eastern European men tricking people into handing over their money to pay for hit jobs that actually didn't happen. Christy Lynn Felkins sent 12 bitcoins, valued at approximately $5,000 at the time, to Besa Mafia to have her ex-husband murdered. From February to May 2016, Felkins regularly communicated with the administrator of the site to pay for and arrange for the murder of her ex-husband. Felkins gave the administrator the specific location of her husband in an attempt to have him murdered. Felkins was sentenced on July 22, 2023 to 5 years in prison for a murder for hire plot. There are many reasons someone might want privacy online, like accessing information in countries with strict censorship or shielding oneself from surveillance. Major news networks have dark web outlets, enabling whistleblowers to come forward and ensuring the truth sees the light of day. While it can be a tool for good, like all tools, its impact depends on the hands wielding it. The dark web isn't inherently bad. It's all about what you seek out. Some things on there are best left undiscovered. While you might not be able to erase what's on there, you can certainly steer clear of it. There are some things that the average person just shouldn't see. And if you don't want to fall victim to this, I'd stay away from the dark web.